Welcome to the MIZUNO JPX EZ Reshaft, and let's talk about how we're going to finish these clubs. Welcome to Golf Shop. Jim McCleary, Big Ten Most Awarded and Certified Club Maker, Club Fitter. And if you like what you see, how about you hit the like button down below and subscribe. That way you can see more of what's coming along when we go to do more of this kind of work. Cal from Pennsylvania sent us some JPX EZs, right? A grain flow forged club, all right? What that means really is that they heat it up to a certain temperature, they knock the initial shape into it, it cools just ever so slightly, they heat it back up to another temperature, and they do the finish forging, which means that it pushes the grain tighter, right? It makes the forging a little bit tighter, less likelihood of holes in the lattice structure of the metal. And Mizuno is known for a good forged club, so whatever it is that they're doing, it must be working. So we got a set of those with a set of XP95s and some particular flex. And he wanted to know if going to the Nippon 850s in a regular flex would be better, since he's already has a set that he is doing very, very well in. Very similar setup, very similar. I said, well, yeah, I mean, you're going to the same shaft, you're going to make the same specs. Sure enough, it will. And of course, the profiles and the shafts are a little different. So he sent them over, and what I had to do is actually call Nippon directly to get a set of the 850s. Now you might be able to see those better because it's a gold print, all right? So it's an 850 GH. Now the 850 GH means around an 85 gram, and basically what that means is a little lighter flex in the butt and a little stiffer in the tip. So you saw us, we removed them, and I removed the grip, and we flowed them, and I frequencied them, and they're all within an 1/8 of a flex. So Cal, these ought to be pretty doggone good. Now, oh, we also had to put on a colored ferrule to match his red grips. So I let Mrs. McGolf pick because she's my fashion police, otherwise I'd have put some lime green thing on there and all been good. So here we are into step 2, we're finishing. Of course, like always, we got that. Nice and hard, not gooey, right? And so they're ready to go. So trash toss. Nice. All right, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna finish the ferrules. We're going to cut them to length, we're going to put the grips back on, we're going to bend them the way he wants, and then we're going to ship them out. Alright, so let's talk about this. You know, guys, I like ferrule finishing, that's a big deal, but here's something new. If you see this, this has a colored coating on it. It's not your traditional silver, right? Most coatings, when you hit them on the belt sander, it's going bzzz right here, it's going to try and take this off. So you got to hit this with a little more gentler touch than just leaning into it and getting into the club. Otherwise, you're going to have a strip. It's going to be about, right about here, it's going to be silver, and then everything else is going to take off. So you got to be very, very touchy about that. That is the reason why I like the belts, the felt belt and 1700. All right, the 1750, 1800 RPMs, because if you're at that 3600, that 1x36 going 3600 RPM, you'd burn it up in a minute. And that's the reason why I like the bigger ones. Move a little slower, a little easier going for that. So you're going to see all that. We're going to do the ferrules, we're going to do the grips, we're going to do the cutting, and then we're going to do the bending, and then we'll talk about it again. So let's go along. with the build, and now we're just cleaning things up. So now you're into the cleaning club maker's corner like we did on the last installment of fixing some clubs. So it's C cubed, and here's where I clean off my coat of wax before it goes back to Cal, and we review what we did. So we got some JPX from Mizuno, the EZs, the grain flow forged clubs, and they were a little heavy and they didn't feel good to him, and he had some 850 Nippons. Wondered whether or not it would feel better. Well, of course it'll feel better, and he's used to playing them, and he sent me some specs, and I got a hold of Nippon directly. Apparently I have an older dealer's account, and away I got some clubs, or I got some shafts. Now, as you saw earlier, those are taper tipped, and what I got was parallel. So I made a phone call, said, do you mind if I go a different direction with these things? He says, will it affect playability? The answer is no. And I got a little bit better frequency control. So you saw me bore it out, as we talked about. You know, the taper tips only like the bottom 3/8 of the shaft. So with my new drill press and new reamer, I made short work of the irons, and was able to put them together in a really good finish. Now, when we go to put these together, he wanted a colored ferrule. Colored ferrule to match the red grip. So there it is. Okay. When we go to do this, you want to be very careful not to take off all that very dark, otherwise it'll start looking like that. Okay, you see how that's it's reflecting. It reflects a lot of light where that really doesn't. Well, we don't want to do that prematurely. And all those grips that I took off, they went back on. And when you go to do that, you got to give them a day to dry, because you're basically stretching them out a little bit in order to get them off that tape. Let them sit for a day or two, went right on, no problem. They appear to be very, very sticky. All right. Last thing I want to tell you about the irons is that when you flow them, you do the spine and you do the flow, that not necessarily, they all don't end up with the logo looking straight on. Where they see how that's cocked off to a little bit, where that guy is straight on as soon as they take off all the wax. Okay. So you got to be aware that, unless you're logo sensitive, and you go to do this, you got to let me know you're logo sensitive. Here you go. Pretty 4-iron. All right, looks pretty good. All right. So I think I got them all. So one more thing I want to tell you. This ought to have a caption. This is a simulation. This is a simulation only. Did you ever go... Imagine, if you will, a gentleman going to a big box store and asking for a shaft change. Looks good until he takes a swing and you hear this. Hopefully you can hear that. I'm running it by my mic. Okay, so you hear a rattle. All right, and it's not a rattle it's a rattle in the shaft. Well, what we got was... From Val, what we got from Val was he had another JPX EZ driver that they put, it's kind of funny, they put an Acura FX 100 in it, which tends to go along with his iron, so I think this will be plenty fine. Except for when he goes to swing it, it's got this monster rattle in it. And you're like, well, geez, is it broken or no? The answer is no. So if you can imagine, that's the piece that fell out of it the first time. And then I go to put on the grip and I go to pop it, I always seat my grips when it's all done, and it rattles again. And I'm like, well, what the devil's going on? So I take the grip off, and then that comes out. So learning my lesson, I pounded on it a little bit more and nothing came out. And so we did, and so now it's nice and clean. We got a neat blue grip that Mrs. McGolf recommended to him, my fashion police. And now we have it in a nice club. Now, Cal, what I did was I cut it just a little bit. I didn't turn it or anything. Made it truly 44.5 for you, so you should be good to go. So overall, hopefully you liked the video. And if you did, how about like and subscribe? That way you'll see some more of these. And if you guys are interested in any work, Send us an email at clubmaker@mcgolf.net or mcgolfshop@roadrunner.com, and we'll be more than happy to entertain anything that you've got. And like always, let's see your scores go low.